My favorite scene from the recently aired Korean drama The Crown Clown is in the middle of episode 14 when the Crown Clown and the chief secretary is laying down some emotionally powerful dialogue. But before I get into the meat of the scene, here's your spoiler warning. So the scene is right after when the king goes to see the villain of the story who is in jail, and the villain tells him that he really isn't king, and how the chief secretary is fooling him into thinking that he is the king. He goes on to say, that he killed the original king and that he will get rid of you when he wants. So, during that scene, we, the audience, are left wondering if the king really believed what he said and if he is really going to confront the secretary about it. After that scene, we are at a point when the chief secretary gets the queen dowager to confess to her wicked acts by telling her that he was the one who killed her son. The king tells the secretary that we have to talk in my residence. So that brings us to the awesomeness of the scene that this video is about. Walk into the king's residence and the room is silent, but you can hear the strings fading from the soundtrack, and both characters are standing there for a while. Then the king asks, I'm paraphrasing of course, "Did you kill the original king for me?" He said that the villain Sin Chi-soo told him about that, and he asked if it was true. And during this time it is quiet, but right when Chief Secretary says that it's true, the strings come back along with the soundtrack, and it gives a Revelation vibe to the scene, like already. The king and the secretary then have a dialogue about all the things that the chief secretary has done behind the king's back. The thing is that the chief secretary is very honest about everything and tells him the truth. All the while, in the midst of this conversation, the music builds and builds as if the conversation is getting heated, but it really isn't. The secretary gives the king kind of a resignation letter and tells him that it would be safer if I was pulled from my title and away from you. Then, this is the key right here, then he says, I will deal with my own crimes. And then the king says, and then the music abruptly stops. Right? The chief secretary looks up and then the king says, they are not your crimes, but they are my crimes. My crimes as the king. And that cues the music to fade in again, and he goes on to say a speech on how he should have shared the burden of doing all those things with him. So as amazed and in love we are with the king, so is the chief secretary. He is looking at him like he could not believe he was saying such noble things. And so the secretary asks him, are you not afraid of me? How can you still trust me? Do you still trust me? And the king says that he does. It is such an emotional, heroic display, and you just feel all the feels, I swear. Then the music fades out when the king tears the resignation in half and lets it fall to the ground. The king goes on to tell him to stay by his side and to share the burden with him, and that cues the music to fade back in again. With tears in his eyes, the chief secretary starts his speech on how he was scared that he made the wrong decision choosing him to be king, but realized that the clown, was different than anyone else he's met before. And the orchestra music just complements his speech so well. Then in a long shot you see him moving, And you're wondering, what is he doing? He gets to his knees and says that he will no longer be afraid and will serve him honorably. He starts to bow down to the king, and then the king does it. And you just feel, and we just feel, you just feel so honored to have experienced this passionate portrayal of a bond. Then both characters get up, and then the chief secretary says that he will serve him with the utmost respect from now on, and the king thanks him. So good, right? So I love the scene for multiple reasons. Number one, it plays on your expectations because you don't know really what the king is going to say, and it gets you a little anxious. But when it reveals itself to you, you're just in awe. Number two, the music accompanies the scene so amazingly. Like, it's superb. It stops quickly once, then it fades in, and then it will fade out, and then it'll fade in again. I mean, the music seems so self-aware of what's going on in the conversation and the emotions behind the dialogue as well. It's so perfect. Number three, it creates such a strong bond between the two characters because you know they are both on the same side, but you don't really feel that bromance until this profound unveiling. The scene seems as if it could be just one take, but I know better, and I know that since there are many angles that were shot, that it probably wasn't. Also, the editing makes these seem like a collage of close-ups and long shots. So it makes the scene flow a lot better, and it gives us many perspectives because it shows both characters when their emotions count. Also, there is nothing really special about the lighting of this scene. It's really the heart and the warmth and the sentiment that make the scene shine so much. This scene is so stunning and sincere, and you will love it as well. So that's the end of this video, and I hope you liked it. And as always, thank you for watching this video. And then just trying to give out good vibes, not trying to bribe. To my videos, please comment, share, like, and subscribe. Goodbye.